Hey guys, I'm finally back to uploading. Sorry it's been so long, but I was on vacation for the 4th of July, and I just didn't have time to upload. But I'm here now, and I'm going to talk about the first 7 seasons of Wipeout and rank them from favorite to least favorite in honor of the new season coming up on TBS, hopefully this year. And I'm going to try to be brief with it, but we'll find out if I can handle that, and let's get to it. So my all-time favorite season of Wipeout was Season 2. It was definitely a close call between a few of the seasons, but I went with Season 2 because I think it was done the best. It had probably the best obstacles of any season. It's close, but I think it did. And it had a good number of episodes, 16 of them, which is pretty ideal. It had 8 on each course, and then the Australia episode. But it had the Wipeout Bowl special, which was good. They should have done it again. I don't know why they only did it once, but I think it rated badly, but it was a good episode. And they had a couple other specials, one team episode, the first one, and that was good because they used it, but they didn't use it too much like they did in later seasons. And same thing with the theming of obstacles. There's a bit of it, like the rocket round, but there wasn't too much of it, and it didn't overpower the obstacles in terms of like the focus. And they had lots of good rounds. The slippery course, King of the Mountain. There are lots of, well, those are the main two, but there's some other ones that were good. There's not much bad. The Gears of Doom on the Wipeout Zone having time penalty was annoying to me because I think they were possible, definitely if they slowed down, and we saw a lot of people make it through them, so I thought that was unnecessary. But overall, there's not much wrong with this season at all, and that's why I got my first place. So next up, it's a close call again, but I would say Season 3 is my second favorite. Overall, it's still a lot of good. I think it was kind of an upgrade of Season 2 on the face of it, because everything was bigger and harder, and probably a budget increase. But I think it kind of backfired because they had all these big obstacles, but they were hard to like modify every week, which made it more repetitive. They relied on themes on like the circle challenge and the spinner and stuff, having different themes every week, which was good, but it ended up giving less variety in a way because there was no changes to the obstacles themselves. And I think that's the main difference between seasons 2 and 3. But it was still an enjoyable season. Some of the obstacles were too hard to beat, which is another reason, like, I think it backfired. Especially the starting obstacles and, like, the fling set. But that was fine. The smack walls were annoying, but the fling set was just genuinely hard, which I'm okay with. And the course was still really good. They had lots of, they had a few team episodes and some other themed ones, like the USA. But it was still not like overkill yet, and I think they used them well, and they used Wipeout Zone twists really well that year, like foam and paint, but they didn't overuse them again. So they still had good moderation, but some of the obstacles weren't as great as Season 2. Okay, so I'm going to have to be really predictable for a second and say that Season 1 was my next favorite. I know I'm choosing all the early seasons, but I know the commentary and presentation was kind of off compared to the later seasons, but the course made up for that, more than made up for that, actually, and that's probably the reason I'm ranking this so high. Every episode had, despite only having the one block in this season, every episode felt different and had its own variations. That's partly down probably to having only 9 like regular episodes, but that allowed them to make every episode different and have different twists on basically every round every week, which we never really saw again after Season 1. Season 2 had lots of variety, but it was slightly less. It kind of went down gradually every year, and then it stopped abruptly. But, yeah, Season 1 did the best at modifying everything every week, and that more than made up for the commentary and only having the one block. And then there's also the pilot episode, which was interesting because it had lots of one-offs in it, like the cookie cutter, which I wish they used again, but I think it's a copyright issue with TBS Japan and Takeshi's Castle and their game. But nonetheless, I really liked the season, and it was really good for a first season overall. Alright, so the first 2 seasons were definitely in a class by themselves in terms of quality, but so now we're going to drop down a lot. I still like these seasons, but it's definitely decline. But surprisingly, next up is actually season 6, which considering the main issues I have with the season 4 and up courses, being that they have too many smack walls and they have too little variety, season 6 did a decent job at not having that problem, because a lot of the starting obstacles that year weren't smack walls actually for once, and some of them didn't even have a mechanical element in them, like a couple of them, especially in the first block. But so I really appreciated that. That made it a lot better. Now most qualifier obstacles had some kind of mechanic in them, smack wall thing, but none of them were that intrusive or that bad, and they were just a part of the obstacle, not the whole thing, which made them easier to stand, even though I still don't like them. That there's also the fact that like there's more variation throughout the courses. Like even though there's a lot of theming used instead of actual changes, there are some changes. Like the tongue twister platform became a sweeper, a mechanical sweeper, which was annoying, but still better than not changing it. And the pianos in the third round got the bars on them, which was better than nothing, I think, and it showed thought, which not much of the last few seasons show, so I'll take it when I find it. There's a lot of specials in this season, which was definitely overkill, but it was, for what it was, the course was actually pretty good compared to the other later seasons, so this one actually ranked above season 6 for me originally, but it's changed after we watched it. And that is season 4. Season 4 is the first one to have seasons, like the winter and spring ones, and it was interesting. It was definitely it was where I started watching. So I started watching with the winter episode, but it was definitely an interesting idea to try out, but I think it backfired because it was the longest season they ever had with 31 episodes, and that made it really hard to modify the obstacles they had. This season had 3 courses, by the way, with winter and spring having the same exact one every week. So having the same obstacles that don't change week in and week out was a real detriment that hadn't happened ever before on the show, and it especially with the Wipeout Zone, which never changed in any form in these episodes except for like throwing balls once, I think. But that was a real issue with the show, and the main changes came in the qualifier, which made the second half of the show kind of stale because you know exactly what to expect every time for the most part. And there were 5 third rounds throughout the season, but they're pretty unbalanced. Like one of them only appeared 3 times, while others appeared over 10, I think like 12 or something. So that still managed to feel repetitive and just not as well done as the previous seasons. There was a lot of theming once again to disguise stuff, but also even beyond that, just like not changing anything, even themes, and just having one theme for the round throughout the whole season, which is just another way that the season wasn't as good as it could have been. But I still have to like it because it was the first one I ever saw. These last 2 seasons are once again like a notch below, a significant step below the previous ones. And season 5 ranks lowly partly because the course is very repetitive, and also because the tone was off, like the intro music changing. They made it like sarcastically dramatic, but it made the show feel too serious in a way. And they had Vanessa replace Jill. She was good, but it also made the show feel different, even though it wasn't bad. And I think that's part of the issue with this season. Also, it's weird because like every opportunity they took in previous years to make the show a bit different, they didn't take this year. Like they didn't have any alternate third rounds, and they reused first obstacles a lot, or at least part of the first obstacle a lot. And they had no like mud pit obstacle after the first one and before the balls, so it just felt really limited, and probably like there's a budget cut involved somewhere. And speaking of which, the first obstacles often had that border with like the Wipeout logo on it, and it just felt really cheap, and yeah, it definitely felt like a budget cut. Then there's a lot of theming for some of the other qualifier obstacles. Well, the other 2 being the panic hammocks and poundabout were actually good, and the Poundabout changed every week. But those two were hardly shown in favor of like the theme ones, which I think is a major problem with the last seasons. Like, you see a lot of the same stuff again, and you don't get a lot of the original stuff ever. And then the rest of the episodes from after the qualifier is basically just the same thing every single week. And just like season 4, it has 3 courses, but there's much less variation within the courses again. I also found it interesting in the summer season how much more themed the second block was than the first block, especially with the middle rounds like the Scare Grounds and Petrified Forest. Then the first block had essentially no theming, and it felt more rushed, I think. But despite that, I think both the middle rounds are like equally decent, but not special. The hangovers felt too easy, but the Scare Grounds were almost too hard and too complicated. So I think they both have their own problems, but neither of them are very memorable or good in my opinion. And I also think that there's way too many specials on the second block of the summer season, and they should have basically stuck with the number on the first block, and that's about the ideal number you'd have, like one team episode, one themed episode, and that's it. The second block had way too many, and that's what overpowered the season and the focus, I think. So how do I say it? Season 7 had many problems. It was back down to one course, which is because of the budget cut. But this wasn't why the show was so bad. It was bad because, first of all, they screwed up the Wipeout Zone with letting people skip every single obstacle. It bothered me in season 2 with the gears, but it was much more significant here because everyone finished Wipeout Zone in like 2 minutes because they fell off of everything and swam to the end, basically. And that's the main thing, like this huge anticlimax at the end of every episode. But the season also got much more serious in tone. Like throughout the whole episode, it was serious, and that was really a weird decision that backfired for sure. Then, like, just throughout the one course, you could see like they only had a few first obstacles. They were all smack walls anyway, but it just showed how much they had no money to like change anything, and yeah. Then they had a good starting obstacle in the final episode, the Tournament Champions, which they should have used throughout their main season, but instead they built 4 smack walls. Then they brought back some classic obstacles like the Sucker Punch and the Sweeper and ruined them with mechanics, as always. That's the theme of the season. And I mean, the course wasn't that bad. Like the play pound was decent, the final thing was decent in the qualifier. I like the space race. The purple people beater was fine. But it was just too similar, no changes like any of the last seasons. The tone was weird. They focused too much on people's times. And it's kind of was a blur of a season. At least it was shorter. At least they didn't go for like 16 episodes. But, I mean, it was 16 hours because they had 13 episodes and the 3 were 2 hours. So, same thing actually. But yeah, I did not like that season. And it's easy to see why it's the last one, unfortunately. And I hope the new seasons don't sink lower, but we'll find out soon. Alright, that's it. If someone from Wipeout's watching this, sorry about season 7 first of all. But also, I'm looking forward to a new season. I just hope you don't put smack walls. And first and foremost, I hope there's a lot of variation every week, because that's what was good about the first few seasons, I think. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the new Wipeout episodes. I hope they can be made soon, despite, the coronavirus stuff and all that. But whenever they're made, I'm going to watch them on TBS. I look forward to it. And I'll try to let you know when there's a new episode. But until then, thanks for watching.